We can probably mention that we don't have tea. I'm going to say a lot. We are at our brand new tattoo shop called the Admirals Arms. It's not quite finished yet. It's still in a bit of a shambles, but we're getting there.
Probably about a week away from our launch and just about finished putting the pictures up on the walls. Got the chandelier up last week, put some pictures in.
The chandelier is bomb. I can't wait to show that off more. Yeah, the awkward thing about filming here is that we're right next to a train station. Not ideal. I think it's a good idea to do a podcast for anyone who doesn't have tattoos or hasn't got many tattoos and might feel a bit uncomfortable or intimidated with walking into a tattoo shop and just saying, "Hi, I'd like to get a tattoo." I just want people to feel more welcome in the tattoo industry. And so I thought it might be good to start a podcast where we can I can interview my friends that are tattoo artists, and people can see that they're just normal people. Most of us are just art nerds with individual interests. I know a lot of my friends have really cool niches that they're interested in, so I thought it would be good to interview them so people could hear they're just regular people.
So it'll be tattoo tea. We'll have different tea for different guests. Neither of us drink that much tea, so ours is
But I think we should drink more tea.
Ours is tattoo coffee. But the dentist told me I'm allowed to keep drinking coffee, so that's nice.
I think it would be nice to individualize the tea to the person, see if we can pick some specific teas that will suit our guests.
I got some ideas for some of the up-and-comers. I think they're going to like it. So
whether or not it's legal, different story.
This is our first official attempt at a studio, but about 3 years, almost 4 years in the making, really. So
well, I think I bought the rights to the name the Admirals Arms like a good 8 years ago. It was a long time.
Yeah, and then we almost pulled the trigger twice in 2019 and then again in 2020.
I think it just hasn't been the right time, and then when it was, everything sort of fell into place like it was meant to.
Yeah, so you do fine line tattoos?
Yeah, so I'm influenced by a lot of Korean tattoo artists. I have a few favorites. Maybe one day we can bring them on the podcast and interview them. Maybe that'll happen. But yeah, I'm just sort of trying to get better at that sort of style. Super tiny needles.
So we tried a couple of times to have the studio, like I said, and now we finally have this one, which we settled on a space in Moonee Ponds, which we
I
both
love
like.
Moonee Ponds.
Both like the area. I guess it's kind of like a contradiction in a little bit of a way, because we both want to move further out, but then we both like it here. So if we can work out a way to teleport to work and then teleport away from every other person that exists.
Yeah, it's good for work.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't want to live here. It's too busy.
Yeah. Not like there's anything wrong with living here. Sorry if we're offending everyone who lives here, but it's just not for us. Just need space. Just need to be away from people.
But working here is great. There's cafes, restaurants, the supermarket, the post office, everything. Just everything is here, and it's in walking distance. It's perfect.
Church of Scientology.
That is also here.
Which I haven't been in a few years, but I might try and go. Do they do confession?
I don't know if we should be talking smack about Scientologists.
They're going to come and follow us now. Follow me home.
Yeah, no.
Sorry, Tom Cruise.
We do work alongside a hair salon, and
they're great.
They're the best.
They're the nicest people I've met.
I know.
In my entire life.
It's like always a party in there.
The nicest group of people. Yeah, they're always having a party. Every day is fun for them.
It's really sad how strange it is to walk into a building and everyone's smiling and having fun and just super friendly. You're just like, wow, where is this?
I know. What are we actually doing here? What are we doing? We want to do a podcast, like you said, because we want to I guess, make tattoo shops, or at least our one, more approachable for people. I think most are, but it's
like, as a female as well, I understand the feeling of walking into a tattoo shop, especially if I've walked into one that I don't know anyone that works there. It can be quite intimidating. Like, you walk into a tattoo shop and all the artists just stop and look at you, and you're just like, even me, covered in tattoos, is a tattoo artist. Even I feel a bit uncomfortable walking into a shop where I don't know the vibe. So I think I just want people to know that the vibes in here are good.
They are. If they had ghosts in here, they would be happy ghosts, because
I would love a ghost.
maybe one day.
So far I have not found any ghosts in here, but maybe I can pass away in here and then I can be the ghost.
That'd be nice.
One day.
So we're in a bit of a mad rush at the moment because we're trying to set this place up, because we're going to Sydney at the end of the week.
Which is Rites of Passage.
Yep. Sydney Rites of Passage Expo, which is obviously a tattoo expo, which will be, it'll be all right. We're from Melbourne, so,
Melbourne snobs.
Fuck Sydney, but
No.
Seriously though, Melbourne's the best.
I'm excited about the Melbourne Expo though, which was in December.
Yeah. Yep. Which will be nice because we don't have to leave the dogs and everything else that goes along with travelling. But the expo will be good. It will be good to see Sydney for the first time in a few years, I guess, and just make us appreciate home.
And it'll be good to see some familiar faces, tattoo artists and clients.
Yep.
There's a lot of people we haven't seen in a while because we haven't been able to leave Melbourne and they haven't been able to leave Sydney.
Yep. Although we did see some in Brisbane. Did we? Yeah, we went to Brisbane this year.
Yeah.
Then Melbourne, and then, shop opening, Melbourne, Expo, a million weddings.
Should we tell everyone what else we're doing? I keep losing my voice.
I think we should wait for that.
All right.
So you've been tattooing for 9 years now. 8 years, 9 years.
Yeah, nearly 9 years.
Yeah.
I got my apprenticeship back in
2015? No, it must have been earlier.
I was 21 or 22. So
was that long?
What's that, 2012?
Yeah, maybe 2012.
I think, no, it must have been 2014 because I remember there was a post on Instagram that said, I've got a job interview, and it was 2014, and that's when I got my apprenticeship.
Okay, so that's 8 years.
Yeah, nearly 9. Yeah, so how did I start? I got my tattoo apprenticeship by walking into a tattoo shop and just saying, hi, what do I do? How do I get a job here? And I knew I needed a portfolio, but the one I had at the time was pretty average. So I took that into the shop and I showed them, and they were pretty honest with me. They said, look, we can see that you can draw, but
be better.
Do better. They're kind of shit. They said that I didn't have many finished or refined pieces, and at the time I had no idea what that meant. And I say it to people now and they're like, what does that mean? And I'm like, I don't know, but it just needs to be finished. But at the time I was like, what makes it finished?
When you stopped drawing,
I was finished.
Keep drawing. Pick the pencil back up and keep drawing the drawing.
Yeah, well, there's many different ways you can go about getting a tattoo apprenticeship, but at the time I didn't know what that meant. So I was like, okay, how do I go find out what that means? So I went and did an advanced diploma in illustration at Melbourne Polytechnic. What's it called now? It was NMIT at the time.
NMIT.
But now it's Melbourne Polytechnic.
I don't know.
Anyway, it was at NMIT and I did 2 years there learning how to draw better. And I didn't know how to draw very well after that either. But yeah, that was an experience.
So for kids who want to learn how to read good and draw good too.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. I was also still a stubborn bitch at that time. Thought I knew everything.
At that time, back then? All those years ago?
Yeah, yesterday.
This morning wasn't that long ago.
No, I honestly feel like I've grown a lot since then. So anyone that I went to school with there can know that I have changed. I'm a grown woman now.
I've still got some sass, but I'm not.
I've definitely got sass. No, but I did the course. I finished the course with a few portfolios actually, and I took it back to the same tattoo shop that I walked into, and I was like, okay, I did what you said. Here's my portfolios. What do you think now? And I think he still was a bit like, yeah. But he said he was very impressed that I did what he said I should do. And I followed up on it, and I went, did the course, came back, and he was like, all right, well, if you want, you can answer the phone. I think the phone was ringing, and he's like, you can go and answer the phone if you want. And I was like, okay. And before that, I'd worked in retail and I was a waitress. So I'd worked at places before. So I knew customer service skills, etc. So yeah, I worked for little to no money for a long time. Just answering the phone, sweeping the floor, being thrown under the bus.
Proper first year apprentice stuff, really.
Lots of hazing, you know.
But I guess it pretty much translates to most industries. I think the main key, although it was the portfolio, I think the main thing was conviction, really. So, you know, even you saying you don't know, you're not that sure if your portfolio was that much better, you obviously had conviction to stick to it and come back, you know. So
yeah, well, I really wanted it. What actually happened was, I think it's important to mention that while I was working in retail, I hated it. And one day I went home to my mum and I said, I can't do this every day for my whole life. It's horrible. And my mum said, everybody hates their job. That's just the way the world works. Nobody loves going to work. And I was like, I love my job. I don't accept that. I'm not doing that. Like, no, just no. There has to be another way. Because how do you just drag your feet to work every single day and hate it? You have to work more than you're at home.
Yeah, it's hard. I think especially, I don't want to be loose with the term post-pandemic, like everything's over, but since that began, I think it seems to be more and more people who are becoming perhaps more aware of how much they don't like their job.
Also their value.
Yeah, and things that people previously would have accepted as normal, like you saying, your mum saying, you just have to do that, you know, suck it up kind of thing, head down, bum up. While it's obviously an option, and while a lot of people still do that, you know, and a lot of people may enjoy it, there are quite a few that don't, I think. And
I think if you enjoy it, it's fine.
Yeah.
If you like going to work and you like the job you have and you're happy to just work there and go home and spend your money on whatever you want, then that's fine. But I wanted to die.
Yeah.
I hated that job.
You know, I still kind of do, but now I have a job that I like.
I still want to die, but like I love work.
Yeah, it's not the work anymore. No, but I...
Trigger warning, I feel.
But if you're... what was I going to say? If you're... the perception that there actually is another option now is kind of, it seems to be more well known to people. You know, previously you'd hear the words, people would say, oh, you know, just quit, just do this, just, you know, make your own fortune, you make your own destiny kind of thing. I don't think it's ever been as much of a consideration or an option previously for people than what it seems to be now. You know, social media, for all the bad stuff, the bad influence of TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, all that sort of stuff. People living maybe fake lives, or, you know, a lot of people embellish it, obviously. One of the positive side effects is that people are actually now thinking, well, maybe I can do that. Maybe that can be me. If that person can do that, why can't I do that?
Yeah, so. Exactly. And I was 21 when I started doing this, and I'd worked in retail and waitressing before that. So I had some money saved. So I guess I was lucky in that aspect that I'd saved my money, so that when I did start again and I started from the bottom, I had some money to fall back on and live off of.
Yeah, I don't want to be loose with the term lucky either, because I guess you were lucky that you were in a position to save, I suppose, but you still made the conscious decision to save. So if you had have decided, okay, I want to do this apprenticeship, I need money kind of thing, it's not really luck that you had it. You know, it's something else that you didn't have to add to the list. You didn't have to be like, okay, I need to save more before I can do that. It was...
Well, I feel like I was lucky because I didn't plan to be a tattoo artist for a lot of years, because I always wanted to do it, but I never really thought that I could. I never thought that I would be able to do that. So it was actually a last minute impulse decision that I was like, well, I'm going to try. And I was lucky that I had saved money anyway. So
that's what I was trying to say.
I should have, I saved money because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I was like, maybe I'll end up living on the street. I don't know. But yeah, it wasn't lucky that I had saved money, because I knew that I might need it for something. But I was lucky that once I got an apprenticeship where I wasn't getting paid and I worked almost 7 days a week, I had some money to live off of at that time. Because it is hard. I don't know how it's changed doing an apprenticeship these days, but it is hard at first because you can't tattoo clients until you know what you're doing.
Yes, that's what I was going to circle back to. So when you were saying, ultimately it was conviction, it was your portfolio, but it was your conviction that got you your apprenticeship. Is that the advice you'd give to somebody now? I suppose that's the advice I'd give to somebody who wanted to do anything, really. Don't take no for an answer. But
I always say that. That's my number one advice is don't take no for an answer. You're going to get a lot of no's. You're going to get a lot of doors slammed in your face. A lot of people are going to tell you that your drawings are shit, like they said to me. But just keep going. If they're shit, make them better.
Yeah, exactly.
Do another one. If you do one and they say it's not very good, ask them what you can change about it, what you can add to it, what you can take away. And then draw another one. And then if they say that one's shit, say, okay, but now what do I do to make it better?
Yeah, and get different opinions, different perspectives. I think it's good to even ask people that you may not necessarily 100% think you will agree with their opinion. It's still just a different perspective. So, if someone gives you an opinion you don't like, you can say, oh, why don't I like that? Or why don't I agree with it? It can help a bit with your reflection on, if someone's like, this part's shit, you'd be like, well, no, it's not actually. This is why I don't think so. And then you can kind of be like, well, because I feel that way about this particular thing. How do I apply that to the areas that could be better?
It is tricky though, especially with artists, because I personally found a lot of times I would question things because I often have a bit of difficulty understanding why people say things. So, for example, I would show someone a drawing and say, do you think this is any good? And they would say no. And I would say, why? And they would never give me an answer. I would just be like, don't backchat me. It's just not good. And I think a lot of people can't describe why they don't like something. And so I'd have to keep asking questions and ask the right questions to get the answer. Unless
they were just like, it's just all of it.
It's just all of everything you're doing.
Everything you did on this piece of paper, don't do that again.
Well, I didn't mention before, but when I went into that tattoo shop, it wasn't the first tattoo shop I went into. I went into a few.
I remember, yeah.
And I asked a few people their opinions. And I specifically remember one guy, I showed him my portfolio. And I think he was quite shy. So I think he probably struggles to communicate in general. But I asked him, he was like, oh, it's okay. And I was like, well, how can I make it better? And he was like, just keep drawing.
Yeah, I think it is difficult as well sometimes to give direction, especially if you don't know the person, you don't know how someone's going to take something. But
yeah, like, and because I looked young and innocent, they were like, oh, I don't want to hurt this girl's feelings and tell her she can't draw.
Yeah, that's like, you like send them a link and it's like, how to draw a circle. But
yikes.
Practice, it is practice. It is, and it's the most frustrating thing, and it's something that I can remember when I was a kid, asking people, people that I knew could draw and stuff, and they would always, and I'd be like, why are you so good at it, or this or that, or whatever it was, and it was always just like, practice, and it's like, don't tell me to fucking practice, like, tell me, what am I practicing exactly,
Yeah.
And it's I guess it was something I heard from boomers a lot, which was like practice, and I sometimes find myself saying it now, but it is true. But you can still give a little bit of a prompt, a little practice in this direction, don't. Yeah.
Well, it sounds silly now to say it out loud, but honestly, I genuinely didn't get it back then. But practice is do a drawing, look at it and see what's wrong with it, and try to do another one and change the things that's wrong with it. Whereas I would constantly draw the same shit thing over and over and over and not change it.
Yeah, I think that's something that I've found across different, whether it's drawing, like art or engineering, whatever it is. I find it better to try and go too far in one direction, so then I can be like, oh, that's too far this way, I need to go back the other way. I need to bring it back the other way. So kind of like you're saying, you're just pumping out the same picture every time, as opposed to maybe drawing a completely different style. So if you not saying it was the case, but if you weren't interested in, say, trad tattoos, you may not have drawn those. Whereas, if you did, you might be like, oh, okay, I can kind of see how I could do these parts better, or, whatever it might be. It just gives you a different skill set.
But also, because I was a bit of a pain in the ass, a lot of people just couldn't be bothered talking to me, I think, looking back in hindsight. And so, for example, I remember I was in a class at NMIT once, and I was like, I think we were drawing all different perspectives of a hand, like front facing, side facing, like all the way around. So you could work out lighting, depth, shadows, highlights, all that sort of stuff when the light changes as you spin the hand around. And I was so bored, and I was like, this is pointless. Why am I doing this? This is stupid. I know how to draw a hand. Why do I have to show you that I can draw all the way around in every direction? But I didn't realize at the time, and something I still struggle with to this day, is lights and shadows. So if I had have just done the work they told me to do instead of complaining, maybe I'd be better at it now. But
yeah, and I can also see as like, I'm imagining being like a teacher and being like, do this, and then if I had a student, he'd be like, I don't want to do that.
No.
I mean, if it's not if it's not high school, like TAFE, for example, I'd be like, oh, fuck you, don't do it then. I don't give a shit.
You're paying for this class.
Yeah,
I don't
do you want to be
know.
here or not? Your HECS debt, it's already gone in my pocket, so do what you want.
And
So,
that teacher, he was actually an amazing artist, but just a super chill guy. And he was just like, oh, you know what? I don't care if you don't want to learn.
yeah, I totally get that.
And that's totally fair. But I should have taken advantage of working with him specifically more. And like, everything's 2020 in hindsight. But yeah, Warren, if you're out there, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I still can't draw hands.
I still can't work out lights and shadows, and I don't know why. No, I do know why. But
Like the Talladega Nights. I don't know what to do with my hands.
But yeah, listen, you need to take criticism, because as an artist, it's very difficult to hear someone say what you've drawn and spent hours on isn't very good. It sucks. It hurts.
Do you know what I find the most frustrating is, like, when I know that I could have tried harder or done better, and then someone points it out, and then you're like, I fucking know. But the reason that's the most frustrating is because you already know the answer. So,
but also with art, you can always do better. It's never finished.
No, I know, but that's also, I think, a bit of a generalization, because you can still say, okay, all art is subjective, but I feel like you can still look at some stuff and say, I can see what they were trying to achieve, and they haven't achieved that. You know what I mean? Someone's trying to do like that guy with the Lara Croft tattoo. You know what I mean? Like wasn't, there's a picture in there now. Like, he wasn't trying to do that. He was trying to do a realism piece. So therefore, that is shit. If he was like, I'm trying to do a tattoo blindfolded, it's pretty good.
Or in the car. Tried to tattoo in the car like on Jackass.
Yeah. Who was that? Who tattooed him? What was the guy? The guy from Anti-Flag. No, Bad Religion. What's his name?
Black Flag.
No, is it Black Flag or is it Bad Religion?
I'm pretty sure it's Black Flag. I don't know.
The jacked dude.
He did the smiley face tattoo.
Yeah. He's in. Fuck, what's his name?
Yeah. What happened after that?
What after what?
What are we talking about? So yeah,
just taking credit. I don't know.
Got
just
an apprenticeship.
Got an
Are we talking about that?
That's, and you'd still, I guess, you would still suggest to people that perseverance, conviction is the key.
Yeah, and another thing I wanted to mention as well, which I wish I was told when I was an apprentice, is if you get a job somewhere as an apprentice, it's not the only place you can work. Because at the time I felt like if I left there, because I went to a place and I didn't feel completely comfortable, and I thought in my mind, if I leave here, I will never get another job anywhere else, because the new shop will be like, well, why'd you leave the last shop? You're probably not a very good apprentice. So I stayed there longer than I probably wanted to, because I was worried I wouldn't get another apprenticeship. And then as soon as I tried, they were like, yeah, come on in. And I instantly got one.
Yeah, and I think it's a bit of a fine line. I feel like when that was going on, that was, like I said, that was like maybe 2015-ish. And in my mind, when I think of it on the timeline, people were getting away from the idea that you owed something to the business or company that you were working for. You know, like our parents would often be like...
A lot of places still feel that way.
Yeah, I know. But like a lot of the older generations in particular, you know, they got a job, they're there for 40 years, 45 years. Whereas now it's more acceptable to move on. And I've always found personally after like 5 years, I'm more or less, not saying I've learned everything I could learn there, but just in my mind, like 5 years, I'm ready to try something new.
Yeah, you don't have to stay anywhere that you don't feel comfortable.
And then there's also the other aspect, which is you don't want to give up too easily. So you don't want to be like, this is too hard, I'm going to leave and go somewhere else. You want to, you know, you want to give it a go and
I think it depends
out,
on the situation. Like if you're dealing with someone who's just trying to push you more and you're feeling like I was when I was younger, a bit stubborn and trying to push back, that's not a good enough reason to leave. But I mean, if you're being sexually harassed or assaulted or hazed way too much, get the fuck out of there. Like you don't have to stay in places like that.
Yeah, of course. And it's obviously a...
But you're right, you should give it a go and try, as long as you're not in a position where you could be harmed.
Yeah, and I don't want to be like, even if you're uncomfortable, keep. That's not what I'm trying to say. That's probably the words
There's
I
different
said.
levels
That's
of
not really what I
uncomfortable.
meant, though. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I think you know people. You know
Right and wrong, uncomfortable
yeah,
levels.
and you can kind of answer that question yourself mentally. Like, am I just unhappy that I'm being challenged, or am I unhappy because I'm
not being appreciated as a human?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So
I also felt, because there are certain shops that are running fine, and then you come in and you just might not fit in.
Yeah, and that's normal. Not everyone's the same. People are different,
and I think that first shop I was in, like, I just didn't belong there.
Yeah.
As much as I tried.
Yeah, well, there's plenty of people. There's the other day, I think we just crossed over 8 billion people in the world. So,
Yeah.
I'm sure there's plenty of people that would have fit in fine, but it just wasn't for you.
It's just hard as a girl as well, because I've often been the only female in a shop full of guys. The tattoo industry is still quite male dominated, which is fine as long as they're all appropriate and respectful, which they were.
Yeah.
But, it's hard being the only girl. So sometimes you want to mix it up and just go somewhere where maybe there's more girls or just different guys.
Yeah, just different people in general.
Yeah, and I think it's good. It was good that I left that shop and went to the next one, because at the shop I went to second, I met so many people coming in and out of the shop. So like for perspective, is perspective the right word?
I don't know what you're going to say.
Correct. The first shop I worked at, there was only 3 people.
Mm-hmm.
The next shop I went to, there was like between 9 and 13 people at a time.
Yeah.
So I went from a very small shop to quite a large shop. And I felt more comfortable because there were so many people around. There was always someone I could go to that I felt comfortable with. So my point is, if you're working somewhere and you don't like it, just leave.
As long as you've given it a go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
I just really want to stress the fact that I like to think that our shop, the Admirals Arms, will be a place that anyone can come and ask any questions if they have any. I'm always willing to help anyone out that like wants to be a tattoo artist or wants to work in a tattoo shop.
Yeah, well, I mean, pretty much every convention we have someone come up, at least one person come up and want to have a chat to you about a potential apprenticeship. in whatever capacity. Sometimes they got their portfolio, and I almost don't want to put it out there and be like, do that, harass people with portfolio, and then you're going to have like 10 people at the next expo come
I know,
up.
like I don't want my own apprentice at the moment, just to put that out there, just because I'm still scarred from my own apprenticeship, which was years ago. But yeah, I'm just not ready to do that yet. Maybe one day, I'm not going to say never, but right now I'm just not interested in having an apprentice. But I will definitely give advice to people if they want to show me their portfolio. I can tell them what I think they could do better or whatever. But I would recommend picking a shop that you would like to work in, and then it's always better to go in person and just ask them if you can show them your portfolio. Even if they don't want an apprentice, maybe they can give you some advice as to how you can eventually get there. I've also heard a lot of people say that the tattoo industry is quite oversaturated, which I don't agree with. I guess it's the same as hairdressers or personal trainers or any similar industry. I think it's undersaturated with good artists who really want to work hard. There's a lot of people tattooing, but there's not a lot of people that are great at it. That sounds like I'm going to get in trouble for saying that, but that's what I think.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's kind of like, as you say, hairdressers, personal trainers, or any other. We use those examples because they're similar in the way that you manage your clients. Yeah, similar sort of business structure, I guess.
Running your own business.
Yeah, but I think that'll always be a thing across all industries. It comes down to what we were saying before. I think about people who are doing a job they don't like. It's less common, I feel, that people would run their own business doing something that they particularly hate, as opposed to maybe working a 9 to 5 for someone else, just because it is that much more effort. But there obviously is a large number of people that do it just for the money, for example, like because there can be money in it if you're good at it, like anything. But
yeah, well, that's the difference with me personally. When I worked in retail or waitressing, honestly, I sucked at it because I don't know if it's an ADHD thing, but I just did not care about it, so I didn't want to do it. And I was like, the money's not even worth it. I don't even care. I don't want to work here. I don't want to help these people who don't respect me or like me or whatever. I was just doing nothing. But then when I started tattooing, I have never worked harder in my life at anything, but it doesn't feel like work because I love doing it.
Yeah, and it's feel the same way. And just when you're doing something that you want to be doing, like you live and breathe it, it's not work. I don't know, it sounds dumb.
It sounds so cringe, but it's actually true. Like we are exhausted and tired sometimes because we don't sleep very much or we work too much, but it's fun.
And it's not like, find something you love, you'll never work a day in your life. Like, fuck off with that shit. Like if we won the lotto, you know what I mean, we wouldn't be working as hard as we're working necessarily right now, but we'd still be doing tattoo. Yeah, we'd still be doing these things, but just maybe at a slower pace.
Oh yeah, we could definitely slow down a bit.
A few more sleep-ins.
Way too many things.
A few more sleep-ins, that'd be nice. But it is. I mean, it's hard. I think also there's never been opportunity before, I think, like there is now for people to do pretty much anything. Like I can even remember being back in year 12 and they try and funnel you into what are you going to do, and I remember being like, I don't fucking know, I want to go home from school.
That's exactly how I felt.
And then it's
like I don't want to be here, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you can do maths and physics, you can do engineering, or I don't know, you can do art, and it's just like
boring.
Yeah. But then what do you exactly, and then you're like, which doesn't mean that there's, I'm not trying to say it like it's a bad thing if that is what you do want. It's just, for me, I just couldn't even, I felt like an alien, because I was just like, this is none of these apply to me. I don't care. Don't want to do that shit.
I still feel like an alien on a daily basis.
Yeah, but now we can do whatever we want. So
exactly. We made it that way.
Yeah.
I think it's in that saying, find what you love and let it kill you. I think it's very important to keep that in mind.
Yeah. And as you're saying, you never work a day in your life kind of thing. I guess it's more about how do you make a living doing things that you maybe are happy enough to do. Like there's plenty of aspects of running your own business that frankly suck.
Of course. And it's hard work. It's a lot of hard work, but do it.
or don't, you know, I mean, you don't have to. It's just, I don't want to make it sound like you're wrong if that's not what you want to do. I guess it's just more that it's only more recently that I feel like we've found out that we can actually be doing what we want to be doing.
Well, I think it's interesting to mention that we have a friend who specifically says often that he doesn't love his job, but he's happy doing that because he can go to work 9 to 5, come home, do whatever he wants. He earns enough to save money. He doesn't want to set the world on fire. He's happy just doing whatever makes him happy. And we've had conversations about it before because I'm like, I am someone who wants to literally set everything on fire. And I'm like, how do you not want that? And he's just like, oh, I just don't. And not everyone is like that.
No, and he genuinely, I think, feels peace with that because he can, you know, he's got a day off. He's got a day off.
I haven't had a day off since 1995.
But he's like, yeah, and like, you know, he goes, you know, 5 o'clock, he's on his way home or he's home or whatever, and, you know, he can just focus on him. And when you hear him talk about it, he you know, very
he really means it,
very genuine. Yeah. And I get it. I get it. I get it from the outside. I get it like yes, I see how that doesn't apply to me.
Yeah, but, no, I'm happy that he has looked within himself and he's worked that out and he can be honest about that. He's like, look, this is just how I am. And I'm like, okay, cool. That's great that you know that. A lot of people don't even know what they want.
No, that's actually where I was trying to go with that before. When I don't know if kids. I don't know if kids still get those
kids
books
these days.
Yeah, you know the book. Did you get the fucking book where you can pick you pick like what career you want to do, what subjects you need to do. You know, in VCE you get that book.
Yeah.
And you pick your preferences. And
I don't know
stuff.
what it's called though.
That thing. And I remember flipping through this thing and being like, everyone probably does this. And like, what makes the most money? Or what sounds the most interesting? You know, and you look through them all. And I was just like, fuck all of these. Like, I don't want to do any of this.
Yeah. It took me a while to work out what I really wanted to do. But I realized I love drawing. And I was trying to work out what I did in my everyday life that I loved. And at the time, I loved drawing, but I didn't think it would make me money. Mm-hmm. And so I had to think about what I could do to draw and make money at the same time.
Yep.
Then I worked it out.
Yeah, it's like some people talk about like an idea of a holiday, like laying on a beach with a margarita or whatever and just having nothing to do. And that sounds like hell to me.
If I died and went to hell, the devil would be like, sit there and do nothing.
You're not allowed to do, you must relax and do nothing. I'd be like,
no!
Fuck this. I don't deserve this.
Yeah, no. Well, we tried that out. Like we tried to see how we'd feel about that because everyone talks about how they want to sit on the beach and sip margaritas. So we did that. And both of us were like, let's go home.
I hated every second of it.
Yeah, it wasn't fun.
I think I hated it more than I thought I would hate it.
Same.
And I thought I would hate it a lot.
I actually thought I might like it. I was like, maybe I need to embrace relaxing and laying down and doing nothing. And as soon as I laid down, I was like, well, I've had enough.
Yeah, my brain's like, all right, now we've done that. What else are we going to do?
I was like, let's make a list of all the things we can do.
Yeah.
But I think that's just... We're lucky we found each other because I think we're both like that.
You're lucky you found me.
I was going to say the same thing about you, but I was going to give you the benefit of the doubt. But anyway, yeah, I don't think I could be with someone who just wanted to relax on the beach. I'd be like, I hate you.
But that's why, like we said before, you know, there's 8 billion people in the world. You know, there's going to be a tattoo shop with people that you connect with. There's going to be... Yep. There really is, you know.
That's why I don't understand, actually, like, just sorry to interrupt you, but that's why I don't understand the whole tattoo shops don't like it when you open too close to them or like if you're too close proximity to them because they're like, you're going to steal my work. And it's like, there's enough work for everyone.
Yeah.
There's so much work.
I think also the way that people, the same, you know, in the same way that the way people consume information, the way that people find tattoo artists tattoos now.
It's very rare that
different.
You get someone walking past on the street.
Yeah, they're not just going to be like I can remember even when I was 18, actually even when I was like 16, 17, but I can remember friends being like, I'm going to get a tattoo. And I remember one was literally one day he's like, I want a tattoo. And he just rang around to a bunch of shops till he found a shop that would fit him in that day. And he's like, yep, I'll come down there. I remember it was like the other side of the city for him. It's like, over an hour, which isn't that crazy, but it is in this sense, because he's just like, they can fit him in, they will do it that day. He just went there and they'll put it on my body forever. So,
well, people still do that. And like back in my day when I got my first tattoo, I just walked into the local shop that I knew a few other people who had been to, and I was just like, can you do this? It was shit.
But that's what I mean. That's why
my tattoo was shit.
But that's why I think, they generally tattoo shops used to care about that more, because that is the way it used to be done. Whereas now people, they could all be in a line one next to the other, but
at an expo, for example.
Yeah, same as at an expo, exactly. But now,
but people
go
still
for
feel
the
that
artist.
way.
People
I reckon
pick something off the wall.
Probably about 90% of my clients found me on Instagram, 5% word of mouth, and then the other 5% other. Yeah, like I don't think... Well,
the back of toilet doors.
Not many people just walk in to a shop and go, I just saw you from the street and I kind of want a tattoo. Some people still do that, but these days you can research on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook.
Yeah, it's not the only way anymore, whereas before it really was. Before it would have been word of mouth or you go into the shop.
Yeah. And I think if you've got no work, it's not because another person has some, it's because you're not doing enough. Don't you reckon?
For me, yeah, I do. I do feel that, yeah. I can see how people don't, but...
You can't sit back and do nothing and expect work to rock up.
100%. 100%. I guess that also comes back to the not taking no for an answer kind of thing. Like we were saying before about applying for an apprenticeship, in the same way that, you want work. I'm not going to sit there and be like, I'm not getting enough work. Why is everybody else doing this to me? I sit there and I go, okay, what am I doing wrong? What do I need to do more of to get that work?
Problem solving. What is the problem and how do we solve it?
Yeah.
So I guess advice on how to find an artist if you're not sure where to go or where to start. If you've got an idea in mind but you don't know where to go to, there's heaps of different ways you can go about it. But I personally start on Instagram. That's my main source of social media at the moment. So I would
also fuck Instagram though.
Yeah, look, let's not get into that right now. But you can just type into the search bar. If you want a lion tattoo, for example, just type into the search bar lion tattoo Melbourne and you'll probably find someone that's hashtagged lion tattoo Melbourne, or whatever city you're from. And just start there and scroll through the artists, or you can even just type in tattoo artist Melbourne, scroll through all their different forms of work. I would also look up a list. You can Google a list of shops in Melbourne and then just you're working your way down the list, look them up on Instagram, look at their work, look at all the different artists that work there. It's probably better to go through a shop, because then once you open a shop, you can look through all the artists that work there. There's often like 5 or 6 that work at the one place, and then you can start there. And then if you follow people, recommended artists that are similar come up, and you just snowball that way until you find an artist that looks right for you.
Yeah, or unless you have a particular style, same thing applied to a style, as opposed to, I don't necessarily want a line, I want this style of tattoo. If someone wants fine line tattoo,
Yeah, so you have to do the research enough to work out what the style is you want. It could be neo-traditional, fine line, black and grey realism, colour realism. Like, you have to find out what the style is you want first, and then find an artist that specialises in that. That's the way I would do it anyway. Some artists can do multiple styles of tattoo.
Or you just open up Instagram, just like flip through and just pick one and book in and get it, because one day you'll be dead and no one will remember that shit tattoo you had.
And once you get your first tattoo, you don't care anymore as much. Like, the first tattoo is the hardest. Once you've gotten that over and done with, you'll be sweet. Just do it.
I think, as in my experience from being such a less so now, but such a massive perfectionist. I was always like, oh, if I have it there forever and then it's not exactly the way it's meant to be, it'll drive me crazy. And then one day I was just like, you know what? Fuck it. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Like, you want it to be good. Obviously you don't want it, you don't want the Lara Croft, but, literally, I was just like, one day, fuck it. I don't care. Like,
you literally came up to me and were like, let's do a tattoo today. And I was like, what? We'd been together at that point for like 8 years and you never wanted a tattoo. And then all of a sudden you're like, I think I want a tattoo.
Well, I did. It's just that cars are expensive as well. So like, I buy a lot of cars and car parts. And so you can't both.
Get free car parts off of me, but you can get a free tattoo.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So,
well, it's not exactly free, but.
Yeah, it cost me my sanity. But yeah, now I'm just like, whatever. Let's get them done. Get it done. Whatever. Life's too short.
Yeah, and you find once you get your first tattoo that you don't turn into a criminal or a murderer or...
Yeah, I mean, that were none of the things I was worried about.
No, but some people do, like, because their parents have drummed it into them that only bad people have tattoos. I think a lot of people think once they get the tattoo, they're going to change or the whole world around them is going to change. And literally nothing changes.
No. Is that... Do you think that's something that's as prevalent now with the young'uns, considering people our age are parents?
Yeah. There's actually, because I do tattoo quite a few young people. I'm talking like 18 to 21.
Not 12 or 13.
Obviously 18 and over. But even them, some of them say that their parents are so against tattoos and they tell them, it's your body, you can do what you want, but you probably won't get a job. You probably won't be able to do this. What are you going to do on your wedding day? And it literally makes no difference.
No. And I think as more people of our age, our generation, get into those positions of management positions where they're hiring people running their own businesses and all that sort of thing.
I think it's discrimination now.
Yeah. And I mean, that'll open a can of worms, but, yes, it is. Yes. How far people push the idea of discrimination is maybe
to be fair, I did say nothing changes, and that's not quite true because some people do look at you differently once you've got tattoos.
Yeah. There are some places where you can't go in with a neck tattoo or a hand
That's
tattoo.
True. There are a few pubs and clubs in certain states in Australia that will not allow you in if you have neck tattoos, face tattoos, any super visible tattoos. But I don't want to go in those places anyway.
And that's kind of the thing, isn't it? I mean, if you're the sort of person, like to me, that, as you say exactly, that's not relevant to me. I don't care about that. So I guess some people want to keep their options open, maybe, I suppose, but probably not also often the sort of person who wants a neck, face, hand tattoo anyway. So
yeah, you got to find your people, and not everyone's going to be your people. If I walk into a church, they look at me funny because I clearly don't belong in there.
No. But like, again, coming back to what we were saying about like the internet and opportunity and all those sort of things, the world's never been as open as it is now. It's never felt so big, I think, because before, you're constrained by the people and the places you go and all those sort of things. Whereas now, open TikTok and or Instagram or whatever, and you're learning about, false news, fake news. No, but like, you're getting a different perspective. Whether that's true or not is a conversation for another day. But you're seeing people who are different to you, whether how true the perception that they are presenting.
So I think the whole point of this podcast that, I'd like to get out there is that while we are different, we are still the same. We're all still people. And like some people are dicks, whether they have tattoos or not.
Whether they're working at the tattoo shop or the council or wherever, or they're a parking inspector, has probably got a fucking ticket downstairs now.
But I mean, the majority of tattoo artists I've met are pretty cool people. They're super nice. A lot of them are socially awkward because they do get looked at differently in the real world. And so it's hard to sort of maneuver your way through life when everyone's staring at you because you've got face and head tattoos. Yeah. But at the end of the day, most of us are just really cool people, and I think that's what I want people to know more of. I'd like to interview some friends and have some guests on the show that can show people that we're just normal. And we want everyone, well, normal-ish, yeah. And we want people to feel comfy. And I want women to feel comfortable coming and getting a tattoo. These days we have privacy screens, we have private rooms, we have all sorts of options for just getting a one-on-one tattoo so you don't have to feel exposed or whatever.
Yeah, and our shop's sick. So
honestly, it's so sick.
But we would think that because we made it. But
it's very me. Everyone says that. They're like, looks like you just vomited in here. And I'm like, I did. But yeah, it's not quite finished yet, which is why we haven't shared many photos of it. But we're working on that. Our lives have been hectic lately. All of our friends are getting married now.
Incredibly selfish of them.
I know, how rude.
But we'll come back from Sydney. This will be up when we're back from Sydney, I guess. So
hopefully we can get it done by then.
Yep. So I'm sure Sydney went well. And
then we'll see everyone at Melbourne Expo. Hopefully we can release this before Melbourne so we can be like, come to Melbourne, come say hi.
Yeah, which is December 4th, 5th, 6th.
I don't know. I think the Sunday might be the 4th, but it's the weekend of the 4th.
The weekend, first weekend of December, surely.
Yeah, the first weekend in December.
Is it Rights or is it Expo?
It's Expo.
Okay, at the new exhibition building. Jeff Shed, first week of December.
Come say hi.
I don't know what booth.
Bring me a Red Bull. I always say to people, bring me a Red Bull. No one ever does.
That's because they're bad for you.
I don't care. A lot of things I do is bad for me.
Yeah. We don't have a booth yet. We don't know what our booth is yet, or do we?
No, it's too far away. I don't know anything about anything. But it should be fun. I think it's going to be a good one. Melbourne's always fun.
Yeah, Melbourne's a good one. Melbourne's a good city.
Melbourne's the bomb. But yeah, if you have any questions for us, maybe just let us know.
Yeah, let us know. Let Jess know. I'm not a tattoo artist, but yeah, we've got a few more people lined up to come in. We're gonna have tea. We're gonna have actual tea next time.
It's
tattoo tea. Today's the first one, so we've got no tea, but we're getting there. We're getting there.
We will have tea, and I've got a lot of tea to spill as well.
Righto.
Yeah, so the Instagram page is the Admirals Arms. My Instagram page is Lil J Tattoos. And I think we'll be posting most of the podcast stuff under the shop page, because the shop page is going to be like our base.
Our base space.
Can you just not talk? You say so many dad things. You're not even a dad.
I'm a dog dad.
Yeah. I don't know how to close. Anyway, thanks for listening.
Check out the next one.
Finger guns.